The Mountain Man, Dashrath Manjhi's epic struggle. In the arid, impoverished region of Bihar, India, lies the small village of Gailor, nestled in the shadow of the imposing Gailor Hills. In the 1950s, this village was isolated, cut off from the nearest town, Waziganj, by a treacherous 55-kilometer path around a rocky, mountainous ridge. The journey was perilous, with narrow trails winding through steep inclines and uneven terrain. For the villagers, mostly poor laborers from marginalized communities, this distance meant limited access to schools, hospitals, markets, and opportunities. A simple trip to buy medicine or sell produce could take an entire day, and for many, it was a matter of life and death. Dashrath Manjhi, born in 1934 into a low-caste Musahar family, was one such villager. The Musahars were among the most disadvantaged communities in India, often landless laborers who lived on the fringes of society. Dashrath, like many in Gailor, worked as a daily wage laborer, cutting wood or tending to fields for meager earnings. He was a man of simple means, with no formal education, but he possessed a fiery spirit and a deep love for his wife, Fagunia. Their marriage was a source of joy in an otherwise grueling life, and Fagunia's support gave Dashrath the strength to face the hardships of their circumstances. In 1959, tragedy struck. Fagunia, who was pregnant at the time, fell ill and needed urgent medical attention. The nearest hospital was in Wazirganj, 55 kilometers away, accessible only by navigating the treacherous mountain path. Dashrath, desperate to save his wife, carried her as far as he could, but the journey was too long and the terrain too unforgiving. By the time they reached help, it was too late. Fagunia passed away, along with their unborn child. The loss shattered Dashrath, leaving him with a grief that would fuel an extraordinary mission. Sitting in his small mud hut, Dashrath reflected on the injustice of their situation. The mountain, a seemingly immovable barrier, had robbed him of his wife and child. It wasn't just his personal loss, it was a curse on the entire village. Children couldn't attend school regularly, farmers struggled to sell their goods, and medical emergencies often ended in tragedy. Dashrath resolved that no one else should suffer as he had. He decided to do the unthinkable. He would carve a tea path through the mountain itself, shortening the distance to Waziganj and connecting Gailor to the outside world. When Dashrath shared his plan with the villagers, many laughed. A single man against a mountain, they mocked. It's impossible. The mountain was 360 feet long, 30 feet high, and 25 feet wide, a formidable obstacle for even a team with modern machinery. Dashrath had no such resources, only a hammer, a chisel, and his bare hands. The villagers saw it as a fool's errand, but Dashrath was undeterred. His grief had transformed into a burning determination, and he believed that if he could move even one stone a day, he would eventually conquer the mountain. In 1960, Dashrath began his work. Every morning, before the sun rose, he would walk to the base of the mountain with his tools. He chipped away at the rock, breaking off small pieces and hauling them away. The work was grueling. Hours of hammering under the scorching Bihar sun left his hands blistered and his body exhausted. Yet he returned day after day, driven by the memory of Fagunia and the hope of sparing others her fate. At night, he would sleep under the stars or in his modest home, waking before dawn to resume his task. The first few years were the hardest. Progress was slow, and the mountain seemed to mock his efforts. Villagers who had initially scoffed began to call him Pagla, madman, believing his obsession would lead nowhere. Dashrath, faced not only physical challenges, but also social ostracism. His own community, struggling to survive, couldn't understand why he was pouring his energy into what seemed like a futile endeavor. Some even accused him of neglecting his responsibilities as a laborer to chase a delusional dream. But Dashrath's resolve was unshakable. He worked alone for nearly a decade, making slow but steady progress. He developed techniques to maximize his efficiency, using the chisel to create cracks in the rock and then leveraging larger stones to break them apart. He carried the debris away in baskets, often working late into the night by the light of a kerosene lamp. His hands grew calloused, his body lean from exertion, but his spirit remained unbroken. Around the 10th year, something remarkable happened. A few villagers, inspired by Dashrath's persistence, began to see the possibility in his vision. They started joining him, not with tools, but with encouragement. Some brought him water or shared their meager meals. Others, mostly children, would sit and watch, fascinated by the man who refused to give up. This small support gave Dashrath renewed energy. He wasn't just carving a path for himself anymore. He was doing it for his entire community. The years rolled on, and the path began to take shape. By the 1970s, a narrow passage was visible through the mountain. It was far from complete, but it was enough to spark hope. The villagers who had once mocked him now whispered in awe about the mountain man. Word of his work spread beyond Gaylor, reaching local officials and journalists. Some dismissed it as a quirky story of a stubborn man, but others saw it as a testament to human willpower. Dashrath's life wasn't without setbacks. He faced financial hardship, often going hungry to save money for tools. The local government offered no support, citing bureaucratic hurdles or dismissing his efforts as impractical. At times, the sheer scale of the task overwhelmed him, and he would sit by the mountain, wondering if he would live long enough to see it through. But each time doubt crept in, he thought of Fagunia's face and the countless others who suffered because of the mountain's barrier. That was enough to keep him going. By the early 1980s, after 22 years of relentless work, Dashrath achieved the impossible. He had carved a path 360 feet long, 30 feet wide, and 25 feet deep through the Gaylor Hills. The 55-kilometer journey to Wazaganj was reduced to just 15 kilometers, a distance that could be covered in a few hours on foot or by bicycle. The path was rough but functional, allowing villagers to access schools, hospitals, and markets with ease. For the first time, ambulances could reach Gaylor, and children could attend school without risking their lives on treacherous trails. The impact was immediate and profound. Farmers could sell their produce in Wazaganj's markets, increasing their income. Children attended school regularly, improving literacy rates in the village. Medical emergencies became manageable, saving countless lives. Dashrath's path wasn't just a physical passage. It was a lifeline that breathed new hope into Gaylor. Dashrath's achievement didn't go unnoticed. In the 1980s, journalists began visiting Gaylor to document his story. Local newspapers published articles about the mountain man, and his tale spread across Bihar and beyond. In 2006, the Bihar government finally recognized his contribution, nominating him for the Padma Shri, one of India's highest civilian awards, though he didn't receive it during his lifetime. The government also promised to develop the path into a proper road, a promise that was only partially fulfilled after his death. Dashrath Manjhi passed away in 2007 at the age of 73, succumbing to cancer. He died a humble man, still living in his modest hut, but his legacy was anything but small. His story inspired filmmakers, writers, and activists. In 2015, a Bollywood film titled Manjhi, The Mountain Man, starring Nawazuddin Siddiqui, brought his story to a global audience. The film captured the essence of his struggle, though it took some creative liberties. Today, the path Dashrath carved is a paved road used by thousands of people. It stands as a monument to his perseverance and a reminder that one person's determination can change the course of history. In Gaylor, children grow up hearing the story of the man who moved a mountain, and his name is spoken with reverence. Schools in the region teach about Dashrath as an example of grit and selflessness, and his story has become part of India's modern folklore. Dashrath's life also sheds light on the broader struggles of rural India. His story is not just about one man's battle against a mountain, but also about the systemic challenges of poverty, caste discrimination, and lack of infrastructure. The Musahar community, to which Dashrath belonged, continues to face marginalization, yet his achievement shows that even those society deems insignificant can leave an indelible mark. Reflecting on Dashrath's journey, one can't help but marvel at the power of human will. He didn't have money, education, or influence, but he had a heart full of love and a mindset on justice. His story challenges the notion that change requires vast resources or collective effort. Sometimes it begins with one person's refusal to accept the status quo. In the years since his death, Dashrath's legacy has grown. His path has become a pilgrimage site of sorts, with people visiting to pay homage to the man who defied the odds. NGOs and activists have used his story to advocate for rural development, emphasizing the need for infrastructure in isolated areas. In a country as vast and diverse as India, Dashrath's tale resonates as a symbol of hope, showing that even in the face of insurmountable odds, one person can make a difference. This story, rooted in truth, captures the spirit of India, a land where ordinary people achieve extraordinary feats through sheer determination. Dashrath Manjhi's life is a testament to the power of perseverance, love, and the human spirit, proving that even a mountain can bow to a man with a chisel and a dream.